My name is Mark, and I live in a beige house. Not by choice, mind you, by decree. I live in the Estates at Willow Creek, which is a very fancy name for a collection of identical taupe-adjacent boxes arranged around a series of identical taupe-adjacent cul-de-sacs. Our homeowners association, the Willow Creek Architectural Review Board, is a fascist regime that believes creativity is a gateway drug to unmowed lawns. Our official, approved-upon color palette is desert sand, modest fawn, quiet grage, and for the real rebels, hint of taupe. I'm not a bad guy. I'm a dad. I have a 9-to-5, a mortgage that makes me sweat, and a genuine love for a perfectly grilled hot dog. All I want is to be left alone to raise my kid, pay my taxes, and maybe one day paint my mailbox a color other than subdued bronze. But in Willow Creek, left alone isn't in the bylaws. The whole thing started, as most suburban tragedies do, on a perfect Saturday. The sky was an offensively cheerful blue, the birds were chirping, and I had just finished assembling a brand-new portable basketball hoop for my son, Leo. Leo is 11. He's a great kid, all limbs and questions, and recently, a burning passion for basketball. He'd saved his allowance for 3 months, washed cars for neighbors, and generally campaigned for this hoop with the tenacity of a presidential candidate. And I, being a sucker for that kind of dedication, had matched him dollar for dollar. We wheeled it to the end of our driveway, a perfectly flat, non-offensive slab of HOA-approved concrete. "All right, big shot," I said, bouncing the new, bright orange ball. It made a satisfying thwack, thwack, thwack on the pavement. "First one to 10? Leo's face lit up. "You're on, old man. But I get to be Steph." "Fine," I grumbled. "But when I dunk on you from the three-point line, don't come crying to me." "It's a portable hoop, Dad. The three-point line is Mom's minivan." "Details." He took a shot. It clanged off the bright red rim. I took a shot. It missed the backboard entirely and thumped into our meticulously manicured, HOA-mandated, drought-resistant shrubbery. We were laughing. We were playing. We were, and I can't stress this enough, minding our own damn business. And that's when I heard it. It's a sound that strikes fear into the heart of every resident in Willow Creek. The high-pitched electric whirr of a golf cart moving at an aggressively leisurely pace. "Oh, crap," I muttered. Leo looked up, his shot forgotten. "What?" "Incoming." It rolled to a stop precisely at the edge of our property line, its tires not daring to touch the unsanctioned grass of our lawn. At the helm, wearing a visor that looked like it could deflect solar flares, was Brenda. Brenda is the president of the HOA. She's a woman who looks like her natural resting face is, "I need to speak to the manager." She holds her clipboard the way a medieval king held a scepter, as both a symbol of power and a tool for bludgeoning. "Mark," she said. Her voice was flat, devoid of joy. "Brenda," I replied, forcing a smile that felt like stretching cold taffy. "Beautiful day, isn't it? Perfect for community recreation." Her eyes, small and hard, bypassed me entirely. They locked onto the hoop. I half expected it to burst into flames. "Mark, that's a new installation." I bounced the ball. Thwack. "It's a basketball hoop, Brenda. Portable." I gave the base a kick to demonstrate the wheels. "See? Wheels, we're exercising, promoting cardiovascular health, getting the kids off their video games. You're a fan of health, right?" Brenda was not a fan of health. She was not a fan of my folksy charm. She was, as always, a fan of the rules. She unclipped a pen from her clipboard. Article 4, Section B, Paragraph 9. No temporary or permanent sporting apparatus, including but not limited to goals, nets, ramps, or backboards shall be visible from the street. I stopped bouncing the ball. It's a driveway, Brenda. The entire driveway is visible from the street. You want me to play in the living room? I'm not sure the laminate can take it. The bylaws are clear, Mark. She was already writing. A crisp, white envelope was produced from a pouch on her golf cart. You're kidding, right? I said, the smile completely gone. It's for my son. Look at him. Leo was now trying to become invisible behind the recycling bin. He's a child. Remember children? They used to be popular. The rules, she said, her voice dropping to a near-religious whisper, are what protect our property values. If we allow one basketball hoop, what's next? A volleyball net? A trampoline? She said trampoline like it was a four-letter word. God forbid, I muttered. The sheer anarchy. She extended the envelope, the official violation notice. This is a warning. You have 24 hours to remove it, or fines will be levied. $100 per day. Per day? I yelped. For a portable hoop? Article 9, Section C. Schedule of fines. It's all in there. She gave a curt nod, her visor glinting in the sun. Have a nice day, Mark. She put the golf cart in reverse. Beep, beep, beep. And whirred away, a judgmental mosquito disappearing back into the beige swamp. I stood there for a long time, the violation notice in my hand. The orange ball rolled slowly down the driveway and into the gutter. Dad? Leo's voice was small. Are we in trouble? I looked at the hoop. I looked at my son's crushed face. And I looked at the retreating golf cart of petty tyranny. No, buddy, I said, my voice dangerously calm. We're not in trouble. She is. I crumpled the notice in my fist. We're going to the emergency meeting. The emergency meeting was held, as all high-stakes diplomatic summits are, in Brenda's garage. It was an immaculate space, the concrete floor sealed with an epoxy so clean you could eat off it. The walls were lined with slatwall, holding nothing but a single, perfectly coiled garden hose and a leaf blower. It was less a garage, more a sterile operating theater for beige-based ideologies. The board consisted of Brenda at a folding card table, a man named Gary, who was the treasurer and whose only apparent function was to look worried about money, and a woman named Janet, the secretary, who just nodded at everything Brenda said. I was not alone. My wife Sarah had come with me. Sarah is the rational one in our family. She's a high school science teacher, a firm believer in logic, reason, and not starting land wars with insane neighbors. She was here, in her words, to make sure you don't call Brenda a rules-obsessed goblin to her face. Thank you for coming on such short notice, Brenda began, as if we'd all been invited to a lovely brunch. We are here to discuss a citizen's appeal regarding violation, she consulted a file, V451, Sporting Apparatus Visibility. I stepped forward. Brenda, board members, neighbors, my name is Mark, and I am the owner of the sporting apparatus in question. I had a whole speech prepared. I talked about community. I talked about getting kids outside. I waxed poetic about the nostalgic sound of a basketball hitting pavement in the summer. I pointed out that the hoop was portable, that we put it in the garage every single night, and that it was less of an eyesore than Gary's. Decorative pink flamingos, which were, I was sure, a violation of something. Gary flinched. All I'm asking for, I concluded, is a little reason, a variance, an exception for a kid's toy. Is that really so much to ask? The silence that followed was as sterile as the epoxy floor. Brenda looked at Janet. Janet nodded. Brenda looked at Gary. Gary shrugged, then, catching Brenda's eye, quickly shook his head. "Mark," Brenda said, lacing her fingers on the table. "The rules are the rules. They were established to maintain a cohesive aesthetic. It's what we all agreed to when we bought homes here." "I don't remember agreeing to ban fun," I shot back. "Your fun is another's eyesore," she retorted. "What if someone wanted to, say, park a commercial vehicle in their driveway or paint their house purple?" "I'm not painting my house purple, Brenda. I'm bouncing a ball. There's a difference between a basketball hoop and a commercial-grade cement mixer." "The bylaws," she said, tapping the thick, bound volume in front of her, "do not see a difference. They see a violation. The appeal is denied. The fines will begin tomorrow at 9 a.m. This meeting is adjourned." And that was it. My appeal to reason had crashed and burned. Sarah dragged me out of the garage before I could say the thing about the goblin. The walk home was silent. When we got inside, I had to do the hardest part. I had to go to Leo's room. "Hey, buddy." He was on his bed, pretending to read a book. "How'd it go?" he asked, not looking up. Isoart sat on the edge of his bed. "Well, it didn't. The hoop has to stay in the garage. For good." He just nodded, his shoulders slumping. "Oh. Okay. We can take it to the park, buddy. We'll find a court. It'll be—" He finally looked at me, and his eyes were red. "I just wanted to play here. With you." And that, right there, was the sound of my heart breaking. The rage that had been simmering all day boiled over. This wasn't about a hoop. This wasn't about property values. This was about a bully in a golf cart who had made my kid cry. "This isn't over," I told Sarah later that night. She was reading in bed. I was pacing the floor like a caged animal. "This is not over." "Mark, just let it go," she sighed. "It's a stupid rule, but it's their rule. We'll just go to the park." "No," I said, a dark, primal energy starting to build. "You don't understand. She won. Brenda won. Against a child. I can't let that stand." "So what are you going to do?" she asked, putting her book down. "Storm the Bastille? Start a rival HOA?" "I'm going to read," I said, my eyes glinting. "Read what? The Art of War?" "Better. The Willow Creek HOA Covenant, Conditions and Restrictions." I went downstairs, retrieved the 200-page bound volume we'd been given at closing, and cracked it open. I also cracked open a six-pack of IPAs. The next few hours were a descent into madness. The bylaws were an endless Kafkaesque labyrinth of petty restrictions. 11:30 p.m. No bird feeder shall exceed a capacity of 2 pounds, or be of a whimsical nature. What does that even mean? Is a bird feeder shaped like a tiny log cabin whimsical? 12:45 a.m. All garden gnomes must be pre-approved by the Architectural Review Board to ensure they are not of an aggressive or startling posture. I'm not kidding. Aggressive gnomes. Is he holding a tiny shovel? Is that the line? 1:30 a.m. Holiday decorations may not be erected more than 14 days prior to the holiday, and must be removed within 7 days following. So much for Christmas creep. 2:15 a.m. I found it. Article 4, Section B, Paragraph 9. The basketball hoop rule. It was specific. No basketball backboards, soccer goals, hockey nets, lacrosse goals, or similar shall be permitted. It listed them by name. She didn't just have that rule ready. I muttered, highlighter in hand. She wrote it. She hates sports. She probably got picked last in dodgeball. I was getting tired. My eyes were blurry. The IPAs were gone. I was about to give up, to concede defeat, when I turned the page. Article 7. Flagpoles and ornamental structures. My heart skipped a beat. Section A. Flagpoles. 1. Single flagpole, not to exceed 25 feet in height, for the express purpose of displaying the American flag, a state flag, or a military branch flag, is permitted. Boring. Standard. But then, Section C. Ornamental structures. 1 or more ornamental structures, including, but not limited to, statuary, non-fruit-bearing decorative trees, and other freestanding decorative installations, are permitted. All such structures must be approved by the Architectural Review Board prior to installation. Total height shall not exceed 50 feet. I read it again, and again. The words swam before my eyes, then snapped into glorious, beautiful focus. They had banned basketball hoops by name. They had banned soccer goals by name. They had not banned the sporting equipment for a sport that technically doesn't exist. And they had, in their infinite wisdom, left a 50-foot loophole. I shot out of my chair, sending a tower of empty beer cans clattering to the floor. I sprinted up the stairs and burst into the bedroom. "I've got it! I've got it!" Sarah shot up in bed, her heart hammering. "What? What is it? A fire? A burglar?" "Better." I was vibrating. "It's Article 7, Section C, other freestanding decorative installations." "Mark, it is 3 o'clock in the morning. You look like a mad scientist. What are you talking about?" "They banned the hoop, Sarah." I grabbed her by the shoulders. "They banned it by name, but they didn't ban everything. It's a loophole, Sarah, a glorious 50-foot gold-plated loophole." Leo, woken by the commotion, was peeking around his doorframe, his hair a mess. "Dad, you're yelling." I looked at him. I looked at Sarah. A slow, terrifying, utterly maniacal grin spread across my face. "Leo," I said, "how much do you know about Quidditch?" Leo's eyes went wide. "Like, from Harry Potter?" "The very same," I said, heading to my laptop. "Get me the official regulation heights. We've got work to do." The next morning, I felt like a general planning a very weird, very petty D-Day. Sarah, having woken up to the full implications of my 3 a.m. epiphany, was oscillating between "this is the most idiotic idea you've ever had" and "you have to get pictures of Brenda's face." Leo, on the other hand, was fully in. He was my research assistant. "Okay, Dad," he said, hunched over his laptop at the kitchen table. "According to the Quidditch Through the Ages official fan wiki, the goals are 3 hoops, set at different heights. The 2 outer hoops are 40 feet high, and the center one is 50 feet. Wait, I thought one was 30? "That's in the movies," he said with the scorn of a true purist. "The book implies 50, 40, 50. But some leagues use 30, 40, 50. Let's go with 30, 40, and 50. It shows," he paused, searching for the word, "artistic variation." "Artistic variation. I like it. And the hoops?" 6 feet in diameter," he said. "And they have to be gold. Or at least, gold-ish." 30, 40, and 50 feet, I mused. And Article 7, Section C, gives me a 50-foot ceiling. It's perfect. It's destiny. Now came the hard part. I couldn't just buy a regulation height Quidditch pitch at Home Depot. This was going to require professionals. My first call was to a local landscaping company. "Hi," I said, trying to sound casual. "I have a decorative project. I need a quote to install 3 poles in my front yard." "Sure, sir," the woman on the phone said. "Like for flag poles?" "We do those." "Exactly, like flag poles, except I need one at 30 feet, one at 40 feet, and one at 50 feet. And instead of a flag, I need a 6-foot diameter hoop on top of each one." A long, heavy silence. "A hoop?" she asked. "A circular ornamental topper. Yes, preferably in a metallic gold finish." "Sir, are you trying to build a giant basketball thing?" "Absolutely not," I said, perhaps too quickly. "It's abstract art. It's called Circles of Suburbia. It's a statement on the cyclical nature of life." Click. She hung up on me. My second call, to Patriot flagpoles, was just as fruitless. "Son," the old-timer on the line grumbled, "I install poles for Old Glory. I ain't installing no 50-foot golden hula hoops. Sounds sacrilegious." Click. I was getting desperate. I went to the dregs of Google, past the sponsored ads, past the first 3 pages, to the kinds of businesses that still use a .net web address. And that's where I found him. Sully's Custom Metalworks. You break it, we weld it. What's up? The voice was pure gravel, like someone gargling with whiskey and nails. Hi, I stammered. "My name is Mark. I have a custom project. It's ornamental." "Don't care if it's ornamental or functional, kid. I care if the check clears. What's the job?" I took a deep breath. "I need 3 steel poles, galvanized, sunk in 10 feet of concrete. The poles need to be 30, 40, and 50 feet high, respectively. Each one needs to be topped with a 6-foot diameter hoop, welded on. The whole thing needs to be able to withstand a high wind." Another silence. This one was different. It was a calculating silence. 3 poles, 30, 40, 50 feet, 6-foot hoops, Sully repeated. "That's right. Painted gold." A low rumbling noise came through the phone. It took me a second to realize he was laughing. It sounded like a rock tumbler. "Let me guess," Sully said. "You live in one of them. Planned communities, don't you?" "Estates at Willow Creek," I confirmed. "And you got a board. And the head of this board, she drive a golf cart?" "Her name is Brenda," I whispered. "Ha! Knew it. I did a job out there last year. Guy wanted a 10-foot privacy fence. Had to be beige. 'Sully,' he says, 'can you paint it quiet Griega?' I told him I'd do it, but I was charging him double for the insult to my craft." I had found my man. I had found my Michelangelo. "So you'll do it?" "Do it. Kid, I'm gonna make this my masterpiece. This ain't just a job. This is art. This is a public service. But it ain't gonna be cheap. You're talking commercial-grade steel, a crane rental, a cement truck, and 4 days of labor." "I've been saving for a new car," I said. "But this feels more important." "You got that right. I'll be there Thursday to take a look. We'll draw up the plans. I like you, kid. We're gonna make something beautiful." The next step was the most dangerous. I had to get it approved by the Architectural Review Committee. I had to get Brenda's signature. This was the heist. This was the con. I spent an evening drafting the application for ornamental installation. I was vague, but technically truthful. Project title: The 3 Spires. Leo thought it sounded classier than Operation Golden Snitch. Description of installation: a grouping of 3 freestanding, flagpole-style ornamental structures of varying heights, 30s, 40s, 50. Each structure will be topped with a circular decorative element, consistent with the overall artistic theme. Materials: galvanized steel, concrete. Color, finish: metallic gold. This was the riskiest part, but subdued bronze just wouldn't have the same impact. For the required conceptual sketch, I did not draw 3 Quidditch goals. I drew abstract art. I made a sort of top-down blueprint that looked like 3 circles on a lawn. Then I did a side-view elevation that looked like 3 flagpoles with lollipops on top. It was, to be frank, a terrible drawing. It was intentionally terrible. It was so artistically baffling that no one could possibly know what it was. I attached the plans from Sully, which were all about load-bearing capacity and concrete footing depth, and looked incredibly official. I put it all in a nice folder and hand-delivered it to Brenda's house, dropping it in the HOA submissions lockbox by her door. I didn't sleep for 2 days. I was a wreck. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped. I was sure she'd call, demanding to know what I was really planning. But the call never came. Instead, 5 days later, I got an email. It was a scanned PDF, my application. And in the approved box, a crisp, angry, unmistakable signature. Brenda K., HOA President. I printed it out. I laminated it. She didn't even read it, Sarah said, looking over my shoulder. Of course she didn't, I said, a giddy, dangerous feeling rising in my chest. She's an administrator, not an artist. She saw flagpole style and installation and concrete permits and figured it was some boring, expensive thing. She has no vision. I called Sully. The Eagle, I said, has landed. Gravely, Sully replied. I've already got the rebar. Thursday, 7 a.m. sharp. It's gonna be a show. A show? Oh yeah, kid. I'm bringing the big crane. Thursday, 6:45 a.m. The estates at Willow Creek were asleep, shrouded in a beige pre-dawn mist. The only sound was an obnoxiously cheerful robin. Then, the ground began to rumble. It started as a low, diesel-throated vibration. At 7 o'clock a.m. sharp, a convoy turned onto my street. This wasn't just Sully and a pickup. This was an army. First, a massive flatbed truck carrying 3 60-foot-long, golden-painted steel poles. They glittered, even in the dim light. They looked like javelins stolen from a titan. Second, a bright red cement mixer, churning with the promise of permanence. And third, oh, it was beautiful. A 100-ton mobile crane, a brilliant yellow beast that looked like a displaced transformer. The flatbed jackknifed in front of my house. The crane extended its outriggers, which thumped onto the asphalt with the finality of a judge's gavel. The cement mixer began its low, ominous slosh, slosh, slosh. Doors opened. Lights flicked on. The curtain twitchers were activated. I saw Mr. Henderson from 451 poke his head out, his newspaper forgotten. I saw the lady from across the street crack her blinds. I was on my porch holding a World's Best Dad mug full of coffee, with Leo vibrating at my side. "This is," Leo breathed. "Epic." Sully emerged from the cab of the crane truck. He was wearing a hard hat, a grease-stained Sully's Custom Metalworks shirt, and a grin that was 90% menace. "Morning, Mark," he yelled, slapping me on the back so hard I nearly spilled my coffee. "Beautiful day for art." "Morning, Sully. You certainly brought the big guns." You want to install a 50-foot, 1,000-pound ornament? You don't use a shovel. Now, where are the markers? We'd marked them the day before. 3 large red X's on my lawn, just inside the 10-foot setback line. The crew, a team of 4 burly, silent men who looked like they built oil rigs for fun, got to work. The sound of a massive auger drilling into the earth shattered the morning quiet. It was glorious. By 8:30 a.m., they had 3 holes, each 10 feet deep. By 9:00 a.m., the cement mixer was pouring hundreds of pounds of concrete into them. By 9:05 a.m., she arrived. I knew it was coming. I had been waiting for it. The high-pitched whir of the golf cart was, this time, frantic. It sounded like a mosquito in a blender. Brenda careened around the corner, fishtailing on the dew-slicked grass of my neighbor's lawn. A finable offense, I noted. She slammed the brake and leaped out, her face a fascinating shade of puce. "Mark, what is this?" The auger stopped. The crane operator paused. Even Sully, who was directing the cement chute, stopped to watch the show. The entire neighborhood was silent. I took a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee. "Good morning, Brenda. Isn't it wonderful? It's the 3 spires, my ornamental installation." "Installation?" she shrieked. "This is a construction site. You've got heavy machinery. I approved flagpoles." "Flagpole-style structures," I corrected her, walking over to my laminated holy grail of a document. "Right here, in the application. Freestanding flagpole-style ornamental structures. Approved. By you." I held it up. The sun glinted off the lamination. She stared at her own signature, her mouth opening and closing like a confused goldfish. But 50 feet? It's 50 feet exactly, said. As allowed by Article 7, Section C. Sully, you brought the tape measure, right? Sully pulled 100-foot tape from his belt. "To the inch, lady." "This is an outrage," she sputtered. This is not ornamental. This is an oil derrick." "It's art, Brenda," I said, spreading my hands. "It's subjective." "We'll see about that," she snarled. She pulled out her phone. "I'm calling the police. This is a public nuisance. It's a hazard. You're destroying property values." "Go right ahead," I said. "I've got all my permits." Sully gave me a "get a load of this" look, then turned to his crew. "All right, boys, show's over. Let's get the first one up. Bring in the 50-footer. As Brenda was frantically describing my violations to a 911 dispatcher, the crane's engine roared. The rigging crew cinched their straps around the massive, central 50-foot golden pole. The crane arm lifted, pulling the pole vertical. It rose and rose and rose. The sun hit the golden paint, and it was like a new, beige-hating sun had dawned over Willow Creek. The crane operator, a true artist, gently lowered the 10-foot base into the wet concrete of the center hole. Sully and his team were there, leveling it. It was magnificent. That's when the police car rolled up. 2 officers got out, looking tired. This was clearly not the high-stakes bank robbery they'd signed up for. "Okay," said Officer 1, a guy named Miller. "What's going on here?" Officer 2, a younger guy named Check's name tag, Chen, was just staring. Up. "Is that—" Chen squinted. "Is that a hoop?" "Officers, thank God!" Brenda ran at them. "This man is a menace. He's built this thing in his front yard. It's a clear and present danger. It's not approved." Whoa, slow down, ma'am," Miller said, holding up a hand. He looked at me. Sir, what's the story here? I produced my folder. Good morning, officers. Mark, homeowner. Just installing my approved ornamental structures. Here's the city permit for the concrete pour. Here's the zoning clearance. And here, I said, saving the best for last, is the signed approval from the HOA Architectural Review Committee. That's Ms. Brenda, the president, right there. You can check the signature. Officer Miller took the folder. He read the city permits. He read the HOA approval. He looked at Brenda's signature. He looked back at Brenda. He sighed. It was the sigh of a man who has seen too much. Ma'am, his paperwork seems to be in order. In order? Brenda shrieked. Look at it. It's sporting equipment. It's a basketball goal. He's just trying to get around the rules. I feigned shock. Brenda, I am offended. A basketball goal? Do you see a backboard? Do you see a net? This is the Three Spires. It's art. Officer Chen, who had been quiet, suddenly spoke, a grin playing on his lips. Ma'am, I don't think that's a basketball goal. He lowered his voice, just for me and Miller. It's Quidditch, right? My kid would love this. I just winked. Officer Miller handed the folder back to me. Ma'am, this is a civil matter. He has city permits, and he has a signed form from you. There's no crime being committed. It's an ornamental structure, a very tall one. Brenda was vibrating with rage. She was completely, utterly, and legally checkmated. This isn't over, Mark, she hissed, jabbing a finger at me. I will find a rule. I will make a rule. You have a great day, Brenda, I said, smiling. The officers tipped their hats and got back in their car. Miller was clearly trying not to laugh. Chen was already texting. Brenda got in her golf cart and drove away, this time so fast she almost hit her own mailbox. Sully clapped me on the shoulder. That, my friend, was beautiful. He turned to his crew. All right, let's get the 30 and the 40 up. We're burning daylight. By lunchtime, they were done. 3 massive, glittering golden Quidditch goals stood in my front yard, soaring over the beige conformity of Willow Creek. They were perfectly level, sunk in a ton of concrete, and absolutely, unequivocally, ridiculously mine. The email went out at 1:00 p.m. Mandatory emergency homeowners meeting. 7:00 p.m. Community clubhouse. Subject: gross violation of community standards. 425 Willow Lane. She had used all caps. It was the HOA equivalent of a nuclear missile launch. The community clubhouse was, naturally, also beige. But tonight, it was electric. It was standing room only. The entire population of Willow Creek had turned out. I saw faces I'd only ever seen checking their mail. The air was thick with suburban outrage. It was a 50-50 split. Half the people looked like they wanted to burn me in effigy, and the other half looked like they were trying to hide their laughter. Sarah, Leo, and I walked in and took seats in the front row. It was a power move. Brenda was at a podium, flanked by Gary, who looked physically ill, and Janet, who was nodding so hard I worried her head might fall off. This meeting, Brenda began, her voice trembling with barely suppressed rage, is to address the circus that has been erected at 425 Willow Lane. A murmur went through the crowd. Mark, she said, using my name like a curse, has, in a flagrant, disrespectful, and childish act of defiance, exploited our bylaws to build I don't even know what to call it. It's the Three Spires, I called out helpfully. It is a travesty. She slammed her hand on the podium. "It is a mockery of our rules. He has made this community a laughingstock. I have already had 3 calls from realtors. He is single-handedly destroying our property values." "Citation needed," Sarah muttered under her breath. "And therefore," Brenda continued, "the board has voted, in emergency session, to levy the maximum possible fines starting today and to file an immediate lien against his property until he pays for the forced removal of those monstrosities." The room was silent. A lien. Forced removal. She had gone straight for the nuclear option. This was my cue. I stood up. I was wearing my best disappointed dad polo shirt. I was holding my laminated approval form and the 200-page book of bylaws. "Brenda," I said, my voice calm and reasonable. "Brenda, I'm confused." I walked to the front, next to her podium. A lien, fines, forced removal, those are some very big words, and they're usually reserved for people who, actually broke a rule. "You did!" yelled someone from the back. "You broke the basketball hoop rule." "Did I?" I asked the room. I opened the bylaws to the bookmarked page. Let's read, shall we? Article 4, Section B, Paragraph 9. I cleared my throat. No. Basketball backboards, soccer goals, hockey nets, lacrosse goals, or similar shall be permitted. I looked up. It's a very specific list, isn't it? I see basketball. I see soccer. What I don't see is Quidditch. I wonder why that is. A few chuckles from the younger homeowners in the back. But that's beside the point, I continued, because as I told Officer Miller this morning, the 3 spires isn't sporting equipment at all. It's art. "It is not art!" Brenda shrieked. "It's from that wizard book. It's for a sport." "Is it, Brenda?" I asked, feigning genuine curiosity. "Is it? Because I asked my son, Leo, my resident expert, about this Quidditch. And it's a fascinating game. It requires 2 bludgers, 1 quaffle, and, most importantly, a golden snitch. Do you see any of those, Brenda?" I pointed out the window at my front lawn. "No, me neither." "And more importantly," I said, my voice dropping for the kill shot, "according to the official magical rules of Quidditch, the game cannot be played without flying broomsticks." I let that hang in the air. "So, Brenda, I ask you, as I possess no bludgers, no quaffles, and most critically, as flying is, I believe, a violation of not only HOA bylaws, but also several key laws of physics, how can any sport be played? They are, therefore, legally and unequivocally ornamental." The room was dead quiet. But, Brenda sputtered. "The spirit of the rule! You knew what it meant." "Ah, the spirit of the rule," I said. "I'm so glad you brought that up, because I didn't just rely on the spirit. I relied on the letter, specifically Article 7, Section C. Ornamental structures. Total height shall not exceed 50 feet. Must be approved by the Architectural Review Board." I held up my laminated, beautiful holy document. "Brenda, is this your signature?" An audible collective gasp filled the room. Brenda turned a shade of purple that was definitely not on the approved color palette. She looked at the paper. She looked at me. You tricked me." "I did no such thing," I said, scandalized. "I submitted a truthful if-abstract application. I provided a conceptual sketch. I followed every single rule. I followed the rules so hard I think I sprained something. I am, by the letter of your law, the most compliant homeowner in this entire neighborhood." I turned to the room. I got a permit, I got approval, I paid a contractor, and I built my freestanding decorative installation. If the board has a problem with 50-foot golden spires, then I suggest the board changes the rules, but you cannot, under any circumstances, fine me, lien me, or touch my spires. Because as of right now, they are 100% code. The HOA's lawyer, a man in a rumpled suit who had been hiding in the back, quietly closed his briefcase. I saw him walk over and whisper something in Brenda's ear. The words, "no legal standing," and "countersuit" were just audible. Brenda's face collapsed. The rage was gone, replaced by the empty, hollow look of total public defeat. The room erupted. Gary, the treasurer, immediately moved to adjourn. People were yelling. Some were shaking my hand. Some were calling me an idiot. Mr. Henderson clapped me on the shoulder and said, "That was better than Perry Mason." Brenda said nothing. She just stared at the wall, her reign of beige terror over. It's been a month. The goals are still there. They're not just still there, they are a landmark. The first week, people drove by and stared. The second week, teenagers started taking selfies in front of them. My house became the Quidditch house on Instagram. By the third week, Google Maps had officially updated. My house is now a point of interest. I am, according to the internet, a local tourist attraction. And Brenda? Oh, this is the best part. She resigned. She sent out a terse one-sentence email. "Due to personal reasons, I am stepping down as president of the HOA, effective immediately." We heard from Gary, who looks 10 pounds lighter, by the way, that my stunt had triggered a full bylaw review. The lawyer had apparently told them their rules were so vague and contradictory that I was the first of what could be many malicious compliance lawsuits. They were, in effect, terrified. The new HOA president is a guy named Dave from 2 streets over. His only platform was, "I will make sure the pool is clean, and I literally do not care about anything else." He was elected unanimously. As for property values, they're up 5%. Turns out nobody wants to live in a beige, boring, carbon copy neighborhood run by a tyrant. But people will, apparently, pay a premium to live in the quirky, fun, slightly insane neighborhood with the 50-foot-tall, glittering, golden middle finger to conformity. We're the cool street now. This afternoon, I'm in the driveway. The sun is setting, and it's making the hoops glow. They cast long, ridiculous shadows across my neighbor's perfect and regulation-height lawn. I'm grilling burgers. The smell of charcoal and sizzling beef is in the air. It's perfect. Leo comes out of the garage. He's carrying 2 old baseball bats and a bag of tennis balls. "You ready, Dad?" "You know it. You got the beaters bats?" "Yep," he grins, tossing me one. "And this," he says, holding up a red, slightly bouncy playground ball, "is the quaffle." I look at him. "And what are we supposed to do with it?" "Duh," he says, as if it's obvious. "Try to get it through the 40-footer. Last one to score has to clean the grill." He takes a running start and whacks the red ball with his beater's bat. It sails in a beautiful high arc and clangs right off the 30-foot pole. "Just short!" I yell, grabbing a tennis ball. "Watch a pro!" I toss it up and swing. It's a pop fly. Goes straight up and comes straight down, landing in the drought-resistant shrubbery. We're laughing. It's a stupid game. It makes no sense. We can't fly, and the rules are... well, we make them up as we go. It's absolutely 100% perfect. I look up at my ornamental structures. glinting gold in the twilight. My monument to spite. My ridiculous, wonderful 50-foot-tall trophies. My name is Mark. I live in the estates at Willow Creek. And I am, for the first time, in full compliance. I flip a burger. Life is good. Of course, I was just reading the bylaws again last night. And I've been looking at Article 12, the one about lawn pests. It's very specific about vermin and insects, but it says nothing about mythological creatures. And Sully just gave me a great quote on a 15-foot concrete gnome. I think I'll call him aggressive.